The NFC East, a division which has not had back-to-back winners since 2004. All teams have been competitive over these past 2 decades, except for the artists formerly known as the Washington Redskins, and the Eagles and the Giants have experienced championship success. Will a team finally repeat as division champs? I don't know, but I can say for certain it won't be Washington. Welcome back to Finned Up. I am Brian Mochak, and unfortunately the bestest boy in the world, Sir Reginald Puppersworth, couldn't be here for this video. My wife and I were on vacation this week and he's still at my parents' farm. And no, that's not a euphemism for Reggie dying. He is actually on a farm. The dog's alive. He'll be back next week. Reggie's okay. I promise. He's not dead. Anyway, I'm here to continue my divisional previews with the NFC East, where I will be discussing each team, making record predictions, probably angering every fan base, all while making silly jokes along the way. Let's get into it. Julie, do the thing!
There's the dunk and the shoulder right there. Damon Shelton got
Finned Up.
The Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys, the star of Arlington, America's team, will be the first team in the NFC East to repeat winners since the Eagles did it from 2001 to 2004. Regular season Dak is objectively a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, and he gets so much unnecessary hate from the media and the internet when really during the regular season, he plays lights out football all year long. Playoff Dak is another story, and we will get to that in a second. The Cowboys have tons of talent on both sides of the ball, and a lot of people are saying they don't really have a receiver other than CeeDee Lamb to catch the ball, but despite Brandon Cooks being on his 30th team in 4 years, he's still a pretty good wide receiver too in the NFL. And tight end Jake Fergalicious Ferguson is a good pass catching option as well. Their defense is loaded in talent with Micah Parsons and Deron Bland and Trayvon Diggs. They may have lost their defensive coordinator Dan Quinn, but they replaced him with Mike Zimmer, who is basically the same as Dan Quinn. You know, a really good defensive coordinator who will always be just an above average head coach. Say what you will about Mike McCarthy, like he's fat and dumb, but the man can put together a good offense. The Cowboys will be good again, and they will win the division again. The playoffs, however, listen, if you're a Cowboys fan, I suggest you just fast forward through this part. The Cowboys have been choking in the playoffs since Aikman retired in the early 2000s, and it isn't changing this year. I have never seen such a talented, well-coached football team just forget how to play once the postseason hits. It needs to be studied by scientists, and they will once again choke this year. It'll probably be like the 7th or 6th seed in the NFC, win a playoff game in the wild card round. But then once they line up against one of the, better postseason teams, they're going to crumble horribly in some horrific fashion. Many of you Cowboys fans watching this are going to say, I'm a hater, and I'm really not. I like Dak. I have no issue with Mike McCarthy, despite him being fat and dumb. I have no issue with Jared Jones, despite him looking like he transformed into a frog at one point in his life and never fully made the transition back to human. I have no issue with Cowboys fans, despite 90% of you being bandwagon frontrunners. I just call it as I see it. With all that being said, I am predicting a record of 12-5 and first place in the NFC East. Philadelphia Eagles. Would you believe that after that game, Nick Sirianni and the Eagles went 2-6, including a 32-9 drubbing by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the wild card round? Couldn't have happened to a nicer coach or a nicer fan base. Here's my thing with the Eagles. I like all their players. Their fans take pride in being assholes, and I respect that level of commitment to anger and hatred. I really do. But, and I don't think Eagles fans would disagree with me on this one, fuck Nick Sirianni. Has there ever been a coach in the NFL with a more punchable face than this guy? I don't think so. There are those of you out there who are probably thinking, Brian, you're just still salty and bitter about the Eagles beating the Dolphins in that Sunday night game, and
You're goddamn right.
how in the hell does one team get 11 penalties called on them and the other team gets 0? Especially when there were some blatant no calls for the Eagles, like that pass interference that should have been called. Especially when there were some blatant no calls for the Eagles. And if the Dolphins won that game, the whole fraud conversation last year would have never have happened, and they would have won the division instead of the Bills, and they would have never had to go to Arrowhead in -30 degree weather. And anyway, Sirianni is a coordinator merchant, and I don't think Kellen Moore is that good of an OC. As a certified Vic Fangio hater, that defense in Philly is really going to struggle. The offensive line, which is the bread and butter of their team, is not going to be as good now that Jason Kelce's gone, and Lane Johnson being another year older doesn't help either. For those reasons, Shark Tank, I am predicting a record of 9-8 and second place in the NFC East. The Washington Commanders, the Commies, a longtime enemy of the Red Scare, decided to pass on Michigan quarterback J.J. McCarthy in the first round and pick Jaden Daniels out of LSU instead. Maybe 10 people are going to get that joke, but I don't care. It was for me. They have a new head coach in Dan Quinn who had quite a bit of success while he was in Atlanta, and I think he will find success in Washington. Everyone likes to shit on Quinn and the Falcons for blowing a 28-3 lead in the fourth quarter against the Patriots in the Super Bowl, but hey, he got that 28-3 lead in the fourth quarter in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. That ain't easy. Now, the issue with Washington is the lack of talent on the roster. Jaden Daniels is playing well in the preseason, but it's the preseason, man. He's still a rookie. They traded away their number 2 receiver in Jahan Dotson within the division to the Eagles, and they don't really have a pass catcher outside of scary Terry McLaurin. People all over the fantasy football sphere seem to be head over heels for their second-round draft pick Ben Sinnott out of Kansas State. But here's the thing. The dude might be really good, but rookie tight ends almost never produce in the NFL. Ever. I'm going to bank on the rule, not the exception when it comes to Sinnott, and I don't think he's going to have a very productive rookie season. Not to say he won't be good in the future. I think with Dan Snyder gone, the Commanders will turn it around, but it's going to take some time. Not happening this year because the stink of Snyder is like the stink of cigarette smoke. It works its way into the drywall and the fabric of the furniture, and it lingers, okay? It lingers. I could be completely wrong though. Maybe Quinn whips that defense into shape. And Jaden Daniels is the next coming of RG3's rookie season. Minus the part where he died on the field in the wild card round and was never really the same again after that. Sorry, Washington fans. I'm predicting a record of 8-9 and third place in the division. The G-Men!
Jones, right there. He's got to get rid of the football. I know he saw Petrie on the spot, but throw it at Johnson's feet.
How Brian Daboll has not murdered Daniel Jones at this point in time, I simply do not understand. I'm sorry, Giants fans. I really am. Without you, Eli Manning, and Tom Coughlin, Patriots would have 2 more Super Bowls, and they would have an undefeated season, replacing the 1972 Dolphins as the only perfect season in the NFL. I respect you, and I respect your team, and I am sorry that Daniel Jones is your quarterback. The Giants have some talent at wide receiver in first-round pick Malik Neighbors. Their running backs aren't bad, and I really do love what they have going on defensively, especially their defensive line. I'm a big Brian Daboll fan, that sexy meatball of a man. But for some reason, which I cannot wrap my brain around, the Giants refuse to address arguably the 2 most important positions on offense, the quarterback and the entire offensive line. I don't get it. I really don't. The Giants will finish at 6-11 and be last place in the NFC East. To recap my predictions, I have the Dallas Cowboys finishing first at 12-5. The Eagles will finish second at 9-8. The Commanders will finish third at 8-9, and the Giants will finish last at 6-11. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, be sure to check out some of my other ones, and I will see you next time. I love you all. Bye.